Hi there, this is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com, and today we're going to talk about homeschooling through summertime. What do you do with your kids? Stay tuned. So I've got a lot to share with you today. I'm going to kind of try to follow the basic outline of a post I wrote, but I'm going to add a lot of stuff, and I've got books and I've got all kinds of stuff to show you. So we're going to talk about summertime being a time when a lot of us, we've come to associate summertime with just free and easy, breezy times, and being busy with family and going on outings, and then it's really hot, all that kind of stuff. But we think of it as a break from academic learning. And there's nothing wrong with that because summertime affords us, if you live in the northern hemisphere and you have actual seasons, then summertime is like a time when you can actually explore outdoors for the most part. Now, sometimes it gets too hot and bothering, and then you have to sit down all day too. But anyway, during the summertime, you can do one of two things. If you've really been focused on academics, you can take a break and just do all kinds of stuff. And we're going to go over that. But it's also a time when you're used to academic, like workbook, textbook kind of thing. Just try some kind of stranger learning than you're used to. Do some free learning that you haven't done before. Okay, so I have lots of plans lots of times. Okay, we're going to really keep going this summer. And then I'll go, oh my goodness, it's so fun. Look at that frog they brought in. There's just no way we're staying focused. It's kind of like the month before Christmas, right? Forget it. So anyway, here's 15 suggestions of ways to go about if you don't have the heart to sit your kids down to the workbooks this summer. There's lots of stuff that you can do that's still learning, okay? So here's number one. Lizards, frogs, and snakes. Okay, now we know that in the summertime is when there's frogs in the ponds or in the puddles even. And there are lizards on the rocks, and there's snakes. Yes, snakes are important. And so during the summertime, we're always doing lizards, frogs, and snakes. And we catch them and we look at them and we teach each other the poisonous ones versus the non-venomous. And what's the difference between a constrictor and a venomous snake? And what are the different things? And talk about when the pioneers and the settlers of our country came and what kind of things they faced with snakes. And then we'll go over the lizards. Some of them, if they lose their tail, they grow them back. That's funny. And what's the life cycle of a frog from tadpole to actual frog? And what's the difference between a frog and a toad? And, there's a book by Comstock, and it's called The Handbook of Nature Study, and it has all this kind of information in it. I wish I had my copy here, but you can get it for free online. Maybe I'll link a free copy below. Okay, go bugging. Okay, now my son, when he was young, he loved bugs, and we lived by a marsh. So he used to go to the marsh, and he'd actually sit there, and he'd watch the life cycle. He'd watch the bugs do their thing. And then he would gather bugs, dragonflies, and he was like friends with them. And we would take them, and we'd put them in a Ziploc in the freezer, and they would freeze, and then he could have them to examine and things. So that was fun. I got him one of those kits where you use camphor and you actually pin, and he just couldn't pin them. He just had such a sensitive heart, he couldn't do that. But anyway, and there's a famous, I don't know if you call him, I guess, entomologist, and I forget, Fabre, Fabre. He was French, and he wrote books for children on entomology, and he's very interested, and he was a believer. And so that we kind of studied him while we were studying bugs. That was kind of fun. Okay, the summer reading program at your library can be a source of having your kids this time, actually, during summertime is when my kids actually built their reading skills. Now, I taught them how to read, but when they really wanted to get more fluent, the summer reading program is a great way to do that. They get actually invested in books that are to their interest. They find things that are their interest, and sometimes they'll just stick with them. So, and then they get rewarded, and they get little rewards. They got to go and get ice cream and a taco. Sometimes they had free coupons for tacos and little toys and stuff. So, that's something you might try. That'll help your kids, and it's free. Okay, swimming and water play. Did you know that I have seen teachers suggest that kids playing in water, of course, it has to be so structured and schoolish. It's called STEM STEM learning. Yeah. If you have a hose and some dirt, you have automatic water learning. Have them like build channels in the mud and see how the water trickles down. He's like, oh, what did you do? Well, my children, we had STEM learning, and I read a dissertation on it, and it's supposed to, fulfill many of the requirements of the school program. But all you did was play in the mud. Okay, that was fun. How about bird watching? Bird watching is amazing. Now, you can go on the Cornell University site, and you can get the songs of different birds. And we lived in an area where there were a lot of meadowlarks. So I was sitting up in my loft office, and the window was open outside. And I was actually playing the song of the Western meadowlark out really loud on my speakers. And I would play it, and then I would hear the meadowlark song, and I realized that there was a meadowlark in our backyard, and every time I would play it, the meadowlark in our backyard would answer. It was priceless. So anyway, then you find out the birds that are in your area, and also even the flora and the fauna, all types of things. Anyway, so Cornell University is a great place to look for all this stuff. That's actually where the Handbook of Nature Study came from, was from Cornell University. That's Anna Botford Comstock. That's what her name is, Anna Botford Comstock. She wrote the book, and it is fascinating. You could just take that book and have fun with it all summer long, and but you don't have to write things and do things. You could just enjoy it, and have a daily journal writing, stuff like that. Oh, and this is homemade potpourri, so don't look at that. That didn't print very well. Okay, you can do some flower collecting and preserving. Now, I have a lot of girls, so we like dried flower arrangements, we frame them even. So you can go on a nature hike, or just what you're growing in your backyard, and you can take those flowers and you can press them, and you can make flower arrangements later on, but as you're doing it, you can talk about the different parts of the flower and use that nature handbook again, and you can talk about all that. So that's let's see, Alabama Cooperative Extension, I think, has something about that too. Okay, I didn't print good, so we're not looking. All right, and there's actually a language of flowers. Did you know that? That's really interesting to study too. That's on Wikipedia. Okay, rock hounding. Oh, what is a rock hound? A rock hound is someone who goes and explores and finds different types of rocks and collects them and labels them. And I've known a lot of people that really love to do this. When I was a kid, my parents, they took their old, a paneled truck, and we would go in weird areas in the mountains, and we went to a place we got garnets out of the rocks and stuff like that, and we had so much fun. And you can find gemstones as a hobby, and you can just pick and do things, and even just in your backyard, if you have a pile of rocks in your backyard, find the quartz, find the granite, and there are books on that, and it's just a lot of fun. Okay, gardening and preserving. All right, so this is something, of course, is kind of obvious, especially right now, because a lot of us are into our gardens as food prices soar. We're learning how to grow things we need, and this is part of education. It should be part of every child's education. Even if they're going to go be an engineer, they should know how to grow some food, know how to grow some flowers for their own family. It's just a good idea to know how to deal with soil and all that kind of stuff. And this is just excellent idea, and it's learning, and it's true learning, right? And you have some reading along. You have to read how to do things and stuff. Okay, reading aloud. Okay, that is when you're all tired out from swimming and gardening and looking for lizards. Okay, then you can sit the kids down and read them a book. Now, one of the things that we love to read is The Princess and the Goblin. Seemed to be good for summertime for some reason. I would sit in a rock. I would put my kids down for rest on their beds, and I would sit in a rocker with the baby, and I would nurse the baby, and I would read to them. And I read The Princess and the Goblin, and that's from George MacDonald. And The Light Princess is one of our favorite stories he did. And of The Lord of the Rings is a good thing to read during that time too. It's just really kind of dreamy and interesting. Okay, then the messy arts and crafts. Now, in the winter time, we got to keep our house clean. We have everybody running around. Messy arts and crafts really aren't a lot of fun. I'm talking like painting and stuff like that. But in the summertime, you can throw the kids on an old picnic table and get them paints and paper, and they can paint to their heart's extent. If they get messy, you just hose them down, right? Just hose the table down, paper mache, whatever you want to do. This is a great time to do that. Okay. Home maintenance and improvement. Okay, if you got to paint that fence, if you're doing a bathroom redo, get your kids involved. Have them learn how to use a paintbrush, or do some caulking, or do some nailing, hammering and nailing. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that kids can do. Even if it's just cleaning things out, like cleaning a shed out and sweeping it and organizing it. This is a good time. These are life skills that a lot of people, they get out of the home, they graduate, and we have no idea. Listen, I had no idea. Okay, I'm not saying people. I'm saying me. There were lots of things I didn't understand. Well, my mom did a pretty good job on a lot of stuff. She included my sister and I, but there's lots of stuff that we have no clue. And if you get your kids used to this stuff when they're young, when they get older and they have to do it for their own homes, it's going to be like natural. It's going to be like normal. And, that improves their homes, and it improves the lives of other people, right? Okay, cloud studies. Oh my goodness, this is so much fun. If you live in an area that has thunderstorms in the summertime, you can talk about all the different types of clouds. You can talk about weather. You can talk about all kinds of cool stuff. That counts. That counts. Like, can you tell the difference between a stratus, a cumulus, and a cumulonimbus? Yeah, I can actually say that word, cumulonimbus. Okay, that's it. And cloud physics. There's such a thing as cloud physics. Yeah, really a lot of fun. How about stargazing? It's warm at night. Get yourself a telescope, or just look at the different cloud formations and talk about the winter and summer skies and all that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff that way. Okay, now here in academics. Okay, now there is a place for academics, and some of these academics are the type where someone is struggling in an area, and you can take it, everybody else can play, but you take that one child for 15, or maybe it's a number of child, and you just take 15 minutes every day, and you just concentrate on that one area that they're struggling. Let's say that someone has been struggling with reading. Well, then you take 15 minutes and you just take that child alone and you just concentrate. You don't have to have any great workbook, anything. You just do some practice. Just practice some phonics. If you have a child that struggles with their handwriting, every day for just 10 or 15 minutes, just have them work in a book, and you work with them and help them develop good habits. Someone has trouble with spelling. I'm actually working on something called Splendid Spelling, and it could be done really simply during the summertime, and it'll be out soon, I hope. I'm really working towards it. But anyway, and you could say, you have to do so much in Khan Academy, or let's say that they're struggling memorizing their multiplication facts. We'll just do that every day. Or there's that reading monster game. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, there's a UK thing about monster and reading. I'll have to put it below. But anyway, it's a video game, which I do not allow video games in my home in general. It's just even if it's a group game, and it's we have group game video games, but I can forget what they're called. Something box something. I can't remember names today. But anyway. But if you put your kids on video games in the summertime, it's going to fry their brains for when you do want to school them, just saying. But anyway, academics, just concentrate on that a little bit with somebody. Some math. Oh, and I've got all kinds of stuff to show you about all that stuff. Okay. Now, don't forget to use this time for you, the teacher. So while your kids are outside exploring, playing, riding their bicycles, then grab some books. Grab some books for you to read. I like Teaching from Rest is a really great book that's come out in recent years. But I also like The Successful Family Handbook, and that's by Dr. Raymond and Dorothy Moore. And For the Children's Sake is a really great read. Let's see, Karen Andriola has written some books that are just really sweet. And homemaking. Get your house together so the next year you've got a flow and you know where things are. You've organized, you've decluttered. I know there are lots of YouTubers you can watch about that. And so, and get some spiritual encouragement for yourself. Listen to the recorded Bible. Listen to YouTube sermons. Chuck Missler's Bible in 24 Hours. That'll prepare you so you can teach your own kids that stuff. Watch Francis Schaeffer's How Should We Then Live? That'll give you a biblical worldview. Teach your kids to be, here's another one. Take the summertime to teach your kids to behave. Teach them to come the first time you call. Teach them to clean up after themselves. Teach them a morning routine, like when you get up, this is you do brush your teeth, wash your face, comb your hair, you make your bed, like just take a week and just focus on just habits that are good and just get these really ingrained. And this is how we flow. No matter what we're doing in the day, we have these, like I was talking in my video on schedule, you have to have anchors. Kids need anchors. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel secure. Give them some anchors in the morning. Teach them good habits. Teach them, like when mom says, Ralph, he goes, yes, ma'am, not, or not like, why didn't you answer me? Well, I was busy. Say, when I call, you answer, even if you can't come right and say, yes, ma'am, or yes, mom. You know what I'm saying? Just teach your kids to behave. Okay, now, here I've got a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, let me show you my stuff now. So I got a stack here, so I'm going to show you. Okay, so these are great to read in the summertime. Now they're not written they're not wonderful novels or anything, but there's a lot of information. If your child is like interested in a certain interested in Japan, or interested in peanuts, peanut butter, chemistry, anything, George Washington Carver is really a lot of fun to read. And that's just 2 of them. I've got a whole bunch of them. They're quick reads. They're like, I don't know, maybe on the 4th, 5th grade level. So they're easy reads. I even like reading them. Okay, I know someone said that they're kind of boring. And I imagine to a real, I'm going to say real, but I mean a biography that's written more to an adult level probably is a little more interesting to an adult, or even to a child maybe. But these do a pretty good job, I think. And what they do is they bring out the spiritual, which I like. Okay, I'm going to do a little plug for myself, and I'm going to suggest that you read my book, Glorious Mothering, this summer for you. And the Lord really led me in this book, so I think there's a lot of encouragement in it. And you can purchase this on Amazon. I have a link below already. And I think that it could really bless you this summer. So something to read for yourself. Okay, here's a favorite book of ours to read, and this is Freckles. This is a great summer book because it has lots of nature in it. Lots and lots of nature. And the story is a little bit sappy, but it's so endearing. It makes you want to cry. It makes you happy and cry. It has all kinds of good stuff in it. So Freckles by Jean Stratton Porter is a really great book to read this summer. Here is that DK book I've already mentioned, Grammar and Punctuation. This would be fun just to sit with your little kids and just enjoy the pictures and just talk about it, just to get some grammar and punctuation in. But it's one of those things, right? Here is a free music program that one of your kids could go through. This is done by G Major Music Theory. I've talked about that before. This is actually the music. I mean, it's really, you could go and buy a book about this stuff, but this is all free. This is really great. And it teaches basic music theory. It's really fun. Something to do. Now, another thing that I suggest you do as a family is to read a Shakespeare's play. I copied this over maybe 25 years ago. I printed this out. And it was from a CD called World's Greatest Classic Books. But this is The Taming of the Shrew. And, it is so fun to read out loud. It is hilarious to read out loud. So we've done that, and we've done it over and over again. I have a number of copies, so we can pass them around and assign people to read. And Shakespeare's so fun. If you have a child that can read it all, it's just fun to read. Here's the Comedy of Errors, and people can play more than one part at a time. This is the Comedy of Errors. I printed this out more recently. And this is from, let's see, Folger. Shakespeare.folger.edu is what it is. And so I printed this. It just doesn't have, it's free because it doesn't have the footnotes, but you don't really need them. You can just read it. It's a lot of fun. It's really, people get mixed up. And a lot of the sitcoms that are really good and really funny are based on like the Comedy of Errors. And it's really kind of funny. They kind of mix things up. All right, now here's some books that I found for free. And I think I wrote a post and I linked them. I think it was about science. So, and my daughter made these covers, and I offer that in that post. But anyway, this is the first book of Water. These are old science books, but they are not really schoolish. They just concentrate on one subject that a child might be interested in. This is the first book of Water, and it talks all about what water is, what water does. And summertime is a great time to learn about water, because when you're hot, you like to cool off with water. And it talks about when it turns to snow, and it talks about steam and the weather cycle, but it's in a fun way. You know, like there's some cool illustrations, and it's just really a sweet read that you could read it with your children. So there's one. Another one in that series, and there are a number of them. You can purchase them, used. They're in print anymore. But this is the first book of trees, and this goes on all the different types of trees. Talks about the life of a tree, how they work. It's really cool. So they could take this book and they can actually identify some types of trees with this book, which would be fun. So this is really good. Then there is also, this one is the first book of birds, and we were talking about bird watching. So this talks about all the different types of swallows and hummingbirds and a swift and just different, different parts of the bird, how they all work. It's really a fascinating book. So it has the different types, some different types, not everything, but some basic types kids can look for. This one is the first book of bees. Now that's a lot of fun in the summertime. This is like the bugs thing. And so this is a lot of fun to go through. Here's the different parts of it. So that's that. And then, wait a minute. I was talking about rock hounds, right? So this is the first book of stones. So it has, look at this page. It has the basic ones. Now you probably need to look online to find actual pictures of these different things, but it kind of explains it. This has a little bit of evolution in it. I'm not really happy with that. But you can go to like Answers in Genesis, and that'll be a good discussion, like go to Answers in Genesis and kind of, get a different view on it. So that's kind of interesting. So also during the summer, and something that I didn't mention before, it's a good time to do some crafts and hobbies. Now we talked about the messy stuff and the little kid stuff, but older kids then can pursue some crafts and hobbies. And this is a book by Reader's Digest, and I think it's out of print, right? But you can find it online. I got this one online, and it is so amazing. It has pottery, it has weaving, it has basket weaving, and how to do stuff with paper and paper mache, and making a candle. This right here is macrame, which is really popular right now. It teaches you macrame. I know that we can do this on YouTube, but I don't want my kids always on a computer, okay? I like them to try things. I like to have things. This is batik and tie-dyeing. This is stained glass. There's a pottery one. This is dyes and drawing, and has drawing in there. Modeling, mold making, casting, sculpture. This is painting. I mean, it has printmaking. It has all kinds of stuff. Indoor gardening, lapidary, enameling, woodworking. So this is really a great resource. But this just kind of gives you ideas also of things that your kids could be involved with this summer that could, just skills they could learn and do while it's, they got that extra time. Here's a complete guide to needlework. This is also a Reader's Digest book. And this has just about everything a person would need to know about quilting and everything. And here's knitting and crocheting. So this is fun to do in the summertime too, when it gets really hot and you want to do something, but it's too hot to do anything else. Oh, this right here I wanted to show you. For kids who struggle with math, okay? It's called Math Magic, and it's actually a children's annual to the Childcraft books, the newer ones. And they added this in, and you can buy this. I got this on eBay, okay? And what it is if you have children that they're just not getting math. They don't get math concepts very easily. This is it's like a Charlotte Mason math book, okay? And it is really kind of goofy looking, and it has like things you just sit and you just read these aloud to your kids, okay? Puzzle fun. And this is puzzles and thinking games. And it's in the form of a story. The wolf, the goat, and the cabbages. And you read this. This is math. I'm telling you, it's really amazing. A moving numbers game. It teaches you this little game with cards, right? Here's the magic word. And it has a little cipher here, I think. So I think that's what it is. So that's the story. And of course, this is a maze. You know about mazes. But The Mysterious and Magical Mobius Strip. A Mobius strip. Oh, that's fascinating for kids. Then they move on. Guess what you've been in mathematics. Talks about all the things you were doing all the times you were reading these stories, you didn't know it. Points and lines, doing things by tens. Let's see. Homes and the E. I don't know what that is, but let's see. Buttons and boxes. It's like a Charlotte Mason math book. The Foolish Millionaire and the Clever Girl. Counting Squares, an ancient Egyptian game. See? So all this stuff in here, this book right here, is an easy way to learn math concepts that is mostly Charlotte Mason. So it's worth it. If you can find this, get this. This is really something you could do with your kids. You could just sit down for story time and just sit on the couch and cuddle and go through this. And here's a book in a series that's done by Master Books, and it's called the Wonders of Creation series. This is Ocean. This is the one I own, but there are a number of different titles. And these books, like, they go over like the different aspects of what an ocean is, how it functions, waves, and this is satellites seeing the sea's surface. This is cold water survival, crustaceans. It has everything in here. This would be fascinating just to read aloud. Let's say that you were going on a trip to the beach this summer. This would be really fun just maybe after you come back and everybody's really enthused and you start, just reading a book like this. And there's also geology, I think. I'm wondering if there's a list back here of the different ones in this series. Oh, that's interesting. But see, there's even like a poster in here, I think, that you can pull out about the different aspects of the ocean. And so this is done from a biblical viewpoint. So this is science that says that God is involved in our lives. He's involved in our world. And, here they are. Here's a list of the different books. Geology, ocean, weather, fossil, cave, archaeology, ecology, astronomy, and mineral. So there's all kinds of stuff that kids could enjoy. And from a biblical perspective, it could be a lot of fun to explore this. Just have a lot of these types of books around just to look at, when it's hot and you're sitting around and everybody's bored with watching, SpongeBob. Here is a book about weather from the How and Why Wonder Book series. Now, the How and Why series, if you go online, you go on eBay, you'll find a lot of these different ones. I'm not sure who published them. I think is Grosset and Dunlap. I don't know. But back then, they had a lot of these things for kids, kind of like the DK books now. And they had all kinds of stuff, summer and spring, about the different seasons. And this is, all aspects of winter. And it's from a younger perspective. But it has little experiments and stuff in here. So that's fun, too. Here's a DK, an eyewitness book, but like a DK book. And this is the book of weather, and this is fun to look at and learn about. And kids really kind of have to have these kind of laying around, and kids just kind of find them when they're bored. And it's good not to have the TV or the video games going, so they have to get bored, so then they have to read books. That's Mom's trick. So anyway, that's something you can do with them. Those are those things. So I hope I've given you a lot of information. that you can use. A whole bunch of stuff that you could try. Usborne books, all that kind of stuff. So now I'll give you something more. I want to talk today about church. And my family and I, we've had this discussion recently. We have been part of church. We have run church. We have participated in churches that really fed us, and other ones that not so much. And we're going to a church, and we're gleaning a lot of good at it, but every once in a while it just seems like everybody there is an inch deep and a mile wide. And we were talking about our expectations, and I remember reading about Corrie ten Boom and her family. I think it was in my father's house. And what they did is they were in charge of feeding themselves and their family throughout the week. And then church was just the cherry on top. And I think sometimes what happens is we expect church to be our spiritual everything. And of course, it's never going to meet that expectation. And so we go to church and we have these high expectations, and church services don't meet it. And then we come away disappointed. But if we would take responsibility to feed ourselves and feed our children and feed our families, and then church would just be the culmination, like the fun time when we get to be with other believers and we don't have huge expectations that the pastor is supposed to bring us up to the level where we're supposed to go, right? It's really our relationship with the Lord. Then we might find something happen in the whole body of Christ. If we would all do this, we might find that, and God gave me this picture, that I had this saying. First I said, I'd rather see believers an inch wide and a mile deep than believers an inch deep and a mile wide. And the Lord said, no, Sherry, no. Actually, you can have both. You can be a mile wide and a mile deep. So we can be a mile wide in the Lord. We can branch out and fill the whole earth, and we can still be a mile deep in Him. So what we do is we get a mile deep in the Lord, and then we become a mile wide to the world. Isn't that cool? So, and here it has to happen this way. It has to happen because we are living Isaiah 26:3. You will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. Now, keeping our minds stayed on Him, I looked this word up, and it said that it's like our minds lean towards the Lord. It doesn't mean like, you can't even think about a math problem or what you're going to make for dinner. But while you're doing that, your mind is slanted towards the Lord. Like, what do you think about this, Lord? Or, you know what I'm saying? You're always inclined to concentrate on Him or think about Him or be open to what He has to say to you. And in so doing, then you get deeper and deeper and deeper in Him. And then you're willing for Him to take you to branch out this love and this wisdom you get from Him to others, to be a good for others. Okay. Jesus is coming at just the right time. I know that everybody's saying He's coming, He's coming, He's coming. And we used to use the word Maranatha a lot. Like in the 70s, 80s, Maranatha was the word. But that word Maranatha, I looked it up, and it's actually next to the word anathema, which means, let them be accursed. So, when Jesus comes, a lot of people are going to be cursed, and we have to remember that. So we have to be praying for them and being God's witnesses in this earth for those that He wants to bring in. Okay, now in Revelation 22:20 it says, He who testifies to these things says, surely I am coming quickly. Amen. Even so, come Lord Jesus. And that is Maranatha. I am coming, and actually when it says I'm coming quickly, what that means in the Greek is I am coming just at the right time. We don't know when that is, but when He comes, it'll be the perfect time when He does it. So we can trust that. And so while we're growing deep and living large, we can trust that God has the perfect timing to come back, and we don't have to stress it. So I hope that helps you today. I hope you're blessed. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. This is the Lord's Day. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Bye-bye.